begin with the name of Allah, the Omnipotent, the Benevolent, the Beneficent and All-Knowing. And since He is a symbol of knowledge as well, besides the symbol of other things, we should always begin all our intellectual and spiritual activities with the name of Allah. Every interactive course for me is like a journey from the known to the unknown. The legacy of Rumi and Iqbal, his disciple, is like a vast sea, deep and blue, fathomless, rich like a treasure, full of silver, gold and diamonds. Traveling with Rumi and Iqbal is a spiritual experience, or let me put it in modern philosophical terms, an existential experience. Existential in the sense that it is not only an emotional experience, it is not only a religious experience, it is not only a philosophical or intellectual activity, it is an experience of the totality of being. यानी अगर उर्दू में कोई है तो मुझे बता दें, हमारे वजूद का एक मुकम्मल तजुर्बा होता है। ये नहीं कि ज़हन के एक हिस्से का हो जिसका ताल्लुक जज्बात से है और हमारी इंटेलेक्ट से उसका ताल्लुक ना बनता। And that's why Rumi is not only a religious figure, not only a mystic, but also a poet and also an intellectual and a thinker. So there are so many dimensions of Maulana Rum. He was also a creative artist. You must be aware of the fact that he composed music and he was the founder of Sama, which is a religious and spiritual ritual, and it is also, there is a song in it, there are lyrics in it, and there is dance in it. And therefore Maulana Rum was no ordinary religious figure or spiritual peer to whom we are acquainted usually. A man of extraordinary genius who had been well known in the East because he is part of our cultural heritage, and by East I mean the Central Asian states, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, all these places, and also in Iran and Afghanistan, Pakistan, and among the Muslims of Indian subcontinent, as well as in Turkey. And now his name is associated with Turkey only because of a reason which you will come to know when we talk about his life story. Because his life story is very interesting. And that's why Shafaq succeeded in attracting so much attention. Though, as I say to Brigadier Saab usually, it is a superficial presentation of Maulana.
Fictional.
But in fiction also there is Orhan Pamuk, who has depth and philosophical insight. Anyhow, that is not our debate today. So we can say that now we begin our journey with Maulana and Iqbal. Let's celebrate this beginning of this journey. I call it a celebration, not a course, but a celebration. Those of you who have studied my page where I have notified the people, their celebration, the word celebration has been used. And आवाज करूँ और म्यूजिक Now this is the beginning of the celebration. Now this song actually is very symbolic and it represents the essence of Maulana Rum's poetry and thought. There is a group of philosophers since the Greek period who believed that the nature of ultimate reality is light. And they were followed later on by the Muslim philosophers who came to be known as Ishraqiya. And light in Urdu and Arabic is Noor. And if you have studied Quran with the translation, you must be aware of the fact that there is a very beautiful there are beautiful ayat in the Quran which are known as Ayat-e-Noor, and they show that how Allah, the ultimate reality, is a Noor, but it is in the encasement of glass, So it begins at the ultimate reality and now show the heart. And and this light enters into the heart, and whenever it enters into a human heart, the heart becomes enlightened. शफाफ हो जाता है, आईने की तरह हो जाता है, मुनव्वर हो जाता है, इसको वो कहते हैं. The heart becomes illuminated, and the heart has a great significance in Maulana's philosophy as well as in Allama Iqbal's philosophy. The heart is not only a symbol of emotions, it is also a source of knowledge. And if it becomes illuminated, it becomes like a mirror, then we are closer to reality. But if it is dark and dirty, aluda hai, then we are very far away from the ultimate reality. If you don't want to call it Allah, it is up to you, but according to Maulana, it is ultimate reality is Allah. The same goes for Iqbal. And then the next shows that the human beings have to go through a journey in order to reach this state of heart, in which the heart becomes enlightened and illuminated by the ultimate Noor or light with capital L, and one has to travel through many deserts and one has to suffer so many things in order to reach that destination. आगे चलिए. ये एक किस्म का सिंबल उन्होंने दिखाया बस कि भाई you have to pass through fire, through other hardships. All these things are symbolic of those. The next. And you have to cross the deserts in your search. And then finally, maybe through certain spiritual states, you are so much under the grip of emotions, and emotions sometimes are of grief and sorrow, and they are very intense. And we, as if we pass through the dust cloud, isko gubar kehte hain hum log. There are, on this journey, there are various stages. One stage is this, in which we are totally cut off from the world, our surroundings, We are encased within our own selves, and we are passing through emptiness, through disappointment, through sadness, and then we start praying, and in prayer we come closer to the ultimate reality or Allah. And the next, and then we start dancing. Once we have gained that spiritual state, we become joyous, we are in ecstasy. Dance means ecstasy and joy. And then again, this is also one of the poses of the dance which Samad was developed later on. The first time we danced, it was like this. He just spread his arms, अभी हम बताएंगे उसके बारे में, and he was in ecstasy. And then we reach, जो ऊपर को लाइन जा रही है towards heaven, we are in a heavenly state. तो इसके बाद हम बात करते हैं मौलाना की ज़िंदगी, जो कि बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग है. But before that, historically, the period of history when Maulana was born, birthplace was Balkh. Balkh was in the empire of Khwarazm Shah at that time, and now it is part of Uzbekistan. No, it's not. No. Let me explain it. Maulana was an Uzbek Turk, and his own language was Uzbek language. But since in all these parts of the world, Persian was also the second language besides your mother tongues, and therefore he wrote he expressed himself in Persian, but his own mother tongue was Uzbek, and his father was an Uzbek Turk, and his mother was a Khwarazmi Turk, but they are of Turkish origin, they are not Afghans. This is something which we should keep in mind. And then date of birth is 30th September 1207, and date of death 17th December 1273. यानी 1207 से 1273. Now the question arises, what type of historical period was that in which Maulana was born, he spent his life, and he developed his thought. Now about the period of history, let me tell you that it was an age of conflict. It was an age of anarchy. The Muslim empires were falling down. They were scattering into bits and pieces of independent states. And the reason was that on one hand there were crusades. The European Christian warriors got together and they used to attack Palestine and surroundings of the Palestine. And since Muslims were living in those areas, they were under great pressure and they were suffering at the hands of European warriors who were very wild at that time. They were not very civilized, let me tell you. Now this is what they did. And so on one hand there were crusades, on the other hand the Mongolites were attacking the different parts of the world. Genghis Khan came towards Baghdad, the center of the Muslim empire, where the Caliph was ruling, and he destroyed Baghdad totally. And he also destroyed the libraries, the schools, the universities, the centers of learning. There was massacre of scholars and intellectuals and artists. So in this reign of terror, the Muslims of that period, they had a traumatic mental state. And Maulana was born then. Because Genghis Khan attacked 1219. Genghis Khan started the onslaught in 1219. Maulana was born in 1207. And most of the Muslim countries were destroyed by Genghis. And then there was a second onslaught in 1256 by his grandson Halaku Khan. And the result was that in 1258, Khilafat in Baghdad was totally destroyed. It was the end. As there was the fall of the Roman Empire, so was the fall of the Muslim Empire. And on third factor affecting this period is the end of Muslim Empire in Spain. In 1266, when Spain was totally conquered by European Christians. So what type of times were in which Maulana came into existence and he grew up? He had to travel and migrate. His family had to migrate from their original native town of birth, and they went to Baghdad. Then when Baghdad was destroyed, they went to Nishapur. When Nishapur was destroyed, they went to Makkah. When Makkah was attacked, then they went on and on. Finally, they reached Konya. This is the old map of Konya, you see. And Konya, you can see Ankara, you can see Istanbul, which is seaside. Konya is inside the main land.
Main Anatolia.
Anatolia, the province to and then here he lived, his father asked for asylum, political asylum, from the reigning prince who was a Seljuk Turk, and he granted it. And so Maulana and his family stayed in Konya, and his father died after 3 years. When they reached Konya, after 3 years, his father died. And then he stayed there, Maulana stayed there. He was at the age of 20 by that time. And he also was educated by his father and by his father's student, Muhakkik. And from them he learned about fiqh and shariat and all the religious disciplines, and also a little bit about tasawwuf, mysticism, Muslim mysticism, which is called Sufism. And then later on, when Muhakkik died, then Maulana became his, what should I say, he just adopted the title of Sheikh, and he himself became an independent teacher. And adopted the title of Sheikh. He laid the foundation of a madrasa where he taught all these religious disciplines. And he was just a faqih, a very rigid and hard person. But then there was a turning point in his life. And that turning point is his meeting with Shams Tabriz. Now Shams Tabriz is a person who fascinates our imagination. When we read about him in Maulana's life, his significance, and when you read Shafaq's novel, even then, maybe you are attracted. I don't know whether you were attracted by him or not, but he is the mystery figure.
Yes.
and perhaps very symbolic also in the spiritual journey of Maulana. And then there are so many, actually Shibli Nomani has written about the life story of Maulana Sobhane Rumi, in which he has told us, Maulana Shibli, that there are many stories, many traditions surrounding the meeting of Maulana and Shams, and also their relationship, whatever it was. There are many stories, and they are usually the Sufi stories, of course. For example, according to one tradition mentioned by Shibli Nomani, it is that Maulana one day was sitting on the one side of a pond, and there were a pile of books in front of him because he was a scholar and a teacher. And then this Shams came out of nowhere, out of blue, and he sat there beside Maulana, and he took his books and threw them into the pond. I think Shafak has mentioned it, but Maulana Shibli said, and then Maulana said, the dialogue which is usually attributed to them is that Maulana said, "What have you done?" And he said, "What have I done?" And Maulana said that you have destroyed my books, and they are so rare and so expensive and so precious and so full of knowledge that you don't know their significance. And then he said that he took out the books out of the pond. The books were dry, they were not wet, they were not damaged in any way. And then Maulana said, "Oh, what is this?" Which he meant that how it happened. And he said, "This is something which you don't know. If I don't know what is written in the books, you don't know how I have saved the books from the water of the pond." This is one tradition reported by Shibli Nomani, and the other about the meeting, another tradition which is usually quoted by several authors, and people believe it is true, is that Maulana was sitting one day, and then this wild-looking man who was younger than him in age came out of nowhere and said to him that I have travelled all the way from India, and I was looking for a man who can bear, who has the patience to bear my companionship. And then I looked at you and I realized you are the man. Otherwise, I have been to Damascus, I have been to Mecca, I have been to so many Muslim states and cities. I have not found the person. And from that day onward, they became very close companions. They were inseparables, actually, and they were always together. And but the effect of Shams Tabriz's company on Maulana's mind was so deep and so vast that he had written this poetry. When I am with Shams, this is Maulana, the older man, Shams is the younger man. And Maulana has written it in the poetic form that when I am with Shams, I am in heaven. And this heaven is portrayed by the artist. And then जब भी वो स्लाइड आए ना इस किस्म की लगा दिया गया. So this was the turning point, and then Maulana became a different man. He was all the time busy with Shams, listening to him. Though later on Maulana said that most of the time we sat together silently. And love is mute. This is what he said. I don't know how, but still this is what he has written in his verse. and he said that I have gained a lot of spiritual benefit from Shams. I am learning those gems of wisdom which had not been known to me after reading so many books of mystics, of great Sufi poets, of intellectuals, of philosophers. Although Maulana had studied the Greek philosophy also, let me tell you that. He was well aware of the Greek philosophers. But he said that I didn't learn much wisdom from them as I learned from this man who was, nobody was even aware of the fact whether he was educated or uneducated, from where he came, who was his teacher, whether he had a teacher. And yet he said that I learned the wisdom and spirituality from this man. And then one day, he was, actually he disappeared. As he came out of blue, he went into the blue. Nobody knows that what really happened. According to one tradition, which Shibli Nomani is not ready to accept, but which Shafaq Sahiba has written in her novel, that he had been assassinated by one of the sons of Maulana Room, who became jealous of this close companionship of their father with this man who was a stranger. Because nobody was even aware of the fact from where he came, who is he, what is not. And it is also a natural explanation, but Shibli Nomani says that it is not acceptable because Maulana had actually trained his sons for with certain point of view, and that was very ethical point of view. And they were aware of the fact that Maulana was such a personality that a number of men, including the younger men, are attracted by his personality. Anyhow, I'm not debating history, I'm not interested. For me, this is enough. What Maulana himself has said, that he came and he went away. He was like a spring which comes in your life for a short time and then goes away. But Maulana was very much upset, and in that period of separation he had compiled Diwan-e Tabriz, Shams Tabrizi. He dedicated it to Shams. Shams had not written a single verse. He was not a poet. But Maulana had dedicated and said, this is what Shams is thinking. This is what he was saying. So, like Plato, who made Socrates immortal through his love and through his dialogues, and we really don't know what Socrates said or what Socrates was, and yet he became immortal through Platonic dialogue, because Plato too had great love for his teacher Socrates. And because of that love he left Athens after his death, and for 12 years he traveled to different parts of the world. So sometimes the intellectual bond between the teacher and the taught is so emotionally charged and intensified that it makes you creative, and you then make the inspiration or the inspiring figure an immortal figure. And this is what has happened in the case of Shams Tabriz. We don't know about his intellectual caliber, and he didn't versify anything. But this is what Maulana, out of his love for Shams Tabrizi. So this Diwan-e Shams Tabriz is very full of emotional poetry, and that's why it has attracted even some Pakistani poetesses also. They are very much interested, for example, Fahmida Riaz, etc. Because in this Diwan there seems to be no restraint, no emotional restraint at all. It is full of intensive thought plus very intense emotions and grief without, it has no limits, that grief, that agony which he felt after Shams left. Now, then the change occurred actually when one day he was going through the market and he just heard a gold beater beating the gold. And he felt as if the beat is saying La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And it was so rhythmic that Maulana's heart was touched and he became a changed man. He used to be very sober and serious, as the clerics are. Religious clergy is usually very serious and dignified and controlled. But his heart was touched by that beating, in which he could perceive, and he could, this is his experience, of course, that La ilaha illallah. Though the gold beater was an ordinary man, he didn't know anything about these things. And then something happened to Maulana and he spread his arms, as in the slides you have seen, and then he started moving in a circle. And that was the beginning of the whirling dervishes. कोई है जी किताबें उनकी दीवाने शम्स तबरेज़ जो कि उनकी हाज़िरी में लिखा गया. I told you about them. And now we come to Masnavi. About Sama I will talk in detail, but first of all I will talk about his works. Diwan-e Shams Tabriz, some people call it Tabrizi. Masnavi Manvi, in which he has presented a whole metaphysics and ethics. And Hikayat-e-Rumi, these are the stories meant to teach morals. And Rubaiyat and Fi Mafia, these are the books. Now about them I will give you a little bit of detail. Diwan-e Shams Tabriz was completed after Shams left, and Masnavi Manvi's first volume was completed in 1258, and second volume was completed in 1263. The rest of the 4 volumes were completed until his death, that is 1273. Now, Diwan-e Shams Tabrizi includes 2,500 lyrics, and in Masnavi there are 25,000 verses. The number of Rubaiyat is 1,600. Now the Western critics usually give more credit to Diwan-e Shams Tabrizi because of its literary and artistic craft. But Eastern critics and historians think that Masnavi is like a vast sea, and it is very simple and yet it is very complex and complicated, because life is complex and complicated. Now the method, when he used to sit with his students and disciples, he used to teach them about wisdom, Hikayat-e-Rumi, jiska maine zikr kiya. And his teaching methodology always was that of storytelling, hikayat. Whether he is delivering the lecture through poetry, whether he is talking in prose, there are stories and stories and stories and fables. आप वो दिखाएंगे अब इसकी लाइट हो Now there are some of the fables or hikayat which he used to talk about when he was with his disciples, and by an Iranian artist. The moral of the story is that don't waste your time, energy and effort in search of something which you can't find. So do it for something which you can do, which you can find, do something positive. And don't go after illusions and mirages and the desires, because there is no end to desires. As I told you that this is against the basic principle of the capitalism, where capital, one has the capital and one wants to increase it and increase it and increase it, though it is nothing but addition of zeros to his account. So I wish I could have brought my own story and read it to you in this connection, but I forgot it. So next time maybe I do it. So the next slide. So Maulana says, don't put in your effort, physical energy and even mental energy in search of something which you can't do, farming, which you can't find it anywhere. I mean, a fruitless effort. Do something which is positive, which is constructive, which is attainable. And this is also a lesson for the perfectionist. Because I, for example, for a long time had been a perfectionist. And whenever my father used to ask me that, you have a talent, why don't you write something? And I said, no, I can't write like Dostoevsky. I can't write like Zola. I can't write like Kafka. So I was an idealist and a perfectionist. And then finally, at some stage in my life, there was a separation. My father expired. And then I realized there is not much time now. I must do what he used to tell me. I should write whatever I can write. So that is attainable. Try to make your goal something which can be attained. Don't cry for the moon. Don't ask for the impossible, because you can't achieve it. So this is Maulana's lesson to his disciples. Don't waste your time in such fruitless efforts and in goals which you can't achieve. Make some goal your target which is achievable, because it is practical and pragmatic. हाँ जी, आगे चलें जी. ये कौन सी थी? Search for man. हाँ ये करें. अच्छा जी, इसको not very difficult to understand what it is.
हर किस्म का जानवर है इस तस्वीर.
But my youngest friend, who is the son of my nephew, he liked it very much. He said, "This is very good, Popo. They are very beautiful animals in human forms." But actually humans are animals, he said. Yes. Even the child understood the moral of the story. So in this it is shown that Maulana himself is trying to find out a genuine human being,
yeah.
insan.
Yeah.
And since his times were full of conflict and bloodshed and inhumanity, through this story, he is telling us, he is giving us the message that we should be human and humane. Otherwise, most of us are in human form, but our inside mind, heart, spirit is that of an animal. वो बीच में आकर वो स्लिप कर गए। अच्छा ये क्या है जी बताएं? नहीं जी?
Is that
There are two humans in this.
one dead human, one dead bird,
Yeah.
and the bird is teaching the human how to bury
हाँ
by digging a hole.
ये इसका। लेकिन इसके साथ उनके अपने लफ्ज बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग है। मुसीबत ये है कि वो दिखाई नहीं दे रहे यहाँ पे, है ना? ये देखिए क्वेश्चन रेज किया उन्होंने इसमें भी। हाँ जी ये है, मैं कोशिश करूँगी कि मैं पढ़ लूँ। ये ठीक था। थिंकिंग एंड विल क्या लिखा? विलीनेस। If Qabil had been himself endowed with such wits, how would he have put Habil to death? This is it.
कैसे कत्ल करता?
हाँ, यानी कि अगर उसमें and animals, they are perhaps, they have more pity and humanity in their heart than the humans. This is, things are incomplete and they have to develop their spirits in order to attain a state of humanity which should be better than the humanity.
ये हज़रत मूसा और हज़रत खिज़र के सफ़र की कहानी है।
Teach his disciples that we should develop love not only for God but for everyone. Even if someone is poor, even if someone is ugly, even if someone is an idiot, we should love all these people. हाँ हम नहीं करते ना। मैं खुद जो जरा इस तरह हूँ, मैं कहती हूँ वो जी or other hurt. So that is the sign of ego, actually. So, as the passion and emotion
Yes.
and feeling.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what the form is.
Absolutely.
So he is against formalism. जो कि तो ये उनका वो टीच करना चाहते थे स्टोरीज के जरिए से। अब आगे जो है, it is a mixture of poetry and Sufism. This is true that there had been other Sufi poets long before Maulana Rumi. There was Fariduddin Attar, there was there was another Persian name, Abu Sa'id Abul Khair, Sanai. Sanai also had written a Masnavi. But the individuality and uniqueness of Maulana Rumi is not comparable. Nobody had that stature in poetry or in mysticism and in wisdom as Maulana Rumi had achieved. Now his teaching method was, एक तो ये मैंने आपको बता दिया, storytelling था. दूसरा, he used a reasoning, a form of reasoning which is known as, let me write this word because you may not be aware of it, analogy. Or the other instrument used by Maulana was that of metaphors and similes. Metaphors में भी हम एक चीज को दूसरी चीज के साथ कंपेयर करके समझाने की कोशिश करते हैं। इस्तारा, metaphor, इस्तारा और then he used to almost in a Platonic fashion. If you have studied Plato's dialogues, you must be aware of the fact that Plato used to create characters in his dialogues. and those characters are sometimes real, sometimes they are imaginative, they didn't exist but he created them. And then he used to bring in Socrates' character, and then Socrates and they used to have a debate. तो इस किस्म की जो फर्जी debates हैं ये मौलाना के यहाँ भी मिलती हैं. Only they are part of Masnavi, they are not in the form of a separate dialogue or separate book. लेकिन ये कि जैसे फर्ज करें कि वो शम्स तबरेज़ को ले आते हैं बीच में, and then Shams says one thing and there is another person who says something against him, and then there is a discussion or conversation among them. A sort of drama, we can say, a sort of drama. So there is an element of stage drama also in Maulana's teaching method. It is a very unique piece of literature and a storehouse of wisdom, and different methodologies and techniques had been used by Maulana to teach what he wanted to teach to the people. Now we come to the fact that in the beginning I told you that Maulana is considered the father of Sama, the founder of Turkish Sama. We must remember that Sama is a practice which is used in different parts of the world, Muslim world, and we call it Sama, the Turks call it आपने तस्वीर ले आई. अच्छा छोड़ दें, मैं बानी बताती, तस्वीरें डाल दें. The Turks call it Sima, E instead of A, and in Persian and Urdu and Arabic it is Sama, but in Turkish it is Sima, E instead of A, and it is a religious. You are acquainted with the fact because we too have महफ़िल समा, हमारी भी तो होती है. तो ये tradition हमारे यहाँ भी बड़ी पुरानी है, but its form is different. Its format is totally different. And the founder of Turkish Sama is Maulana. And with that he also founded the school of Maulviya order of the Sufis. जो मौलविया ऑर्डर ऑफ द सूफी है, उनके लिए समा जो थी, it was a necessary and essential part of their training. जबकि दूसरे जो फिरके हैं वो कोई इतना नहीं, नक्शबंदिया वगैरह थोड़ा बहुत करते हैं, लेकिन कोई इतना जोर नहीं इस पे देते. लेकिन ये जो मौलविया फिरका जिसके कि which was founded by Maulana, they think that to initiate into the spiritual mysteries, one has to learn Sema. And now the question arises, what is Sema? So let me see what I have here for you in that connection. But before going to Sema, I think I have something interesting for you. There are 20 quotes from Rumi's spiritual instructor Shams Tabrizi. Would you like to? अच्छा जी, तो समा का हम फिर करेंगे. Now the first one is 20 quotes from Rumi's spiritual instructor Shams Tabrizi. Instead of resisting to changes, surrender. Let life be with you, not against you. If you think my life will be upside down, don't worry. How do you know down is not better than upside? And next is, the universe is a complete, unique entity. Everything and everyone is bound together with some invisible strings Do not break anyone's heart, and do not look down on weaker than you. One's sorrow at the other side of the world can make the entire world suffer. One's happiness can make the entire world smile. And the next is, a life without love is of no account. Don't ask yourself what kind of love you should seek, spiritual or material, divine or ordinary, Eastern or Western. Deviance only lead to more deviance. Love has no labels, no definitions. It is what it is, pure and simple. Love is the water of life, and a lover is the soul of fire. ये अभी जो मैंने आपको एक सॉन्ग भी और वो दिखाया था स्लाइड भी, उसमें आपने देखा है ना कि वो जो है सफर रूहानी, in that the lover has fire at the back of the screen. So love is fire. ये इब्न लरबी ने भी कहा हुआ वैसे. The universe turns differently when fire loves water. अब इसका मतलब मुझे आप समझाएं.
Say that again.
I'm going to repeat it again. It is what it is, pure and simple. Love is the water of life, and a lover's soul is the soul of fire. The universe turns differently when fire loves water.
Fire, water of love करेगी, that means it wants annihilation of the self. Because water would extinguish the fire. So it's going to live it, that fire seeks annihilation. That is why it's going toward the source which would extinguish it.
So it means that a lover is a soul of fire. Lover जो है वो तो fire है.
Yes.
लेकिन ये कि love बजाते खुद is water.
Yes.
ये आप ध्यान में रखें.
There is passion in love.
जी.
Love is fire, passion. They are all.
According to Shams Tabriz, lover is fire
Fire.
and passion. But love means extinguishing the fire. जी.
No, I was about to say the same.
अच्छा.
That the lover is fire, that is passion.
हाँ. तो इसमें most आगे एक और है कि most of conflicts and tensions are, अच्छा ये छोड़ देते हैं अभी. आगे फिर है कि this world is like a mountain. Your ego depends on you. If you scream good things, the world will come, give it back. If you scream bad things, the world will give it back. Even if someone says badly about you, speak well about him. Change your heart to change the world. Yeah. So, no matter what people call you, you are just who you are. Keep to this truth. You must ask yourself, how is it you want to live your life? We live and we die. This is the truth that we can only face alone. No one can help us. So consider carefully what prevents you from living the way you want to live your life. Patience is not sitting and waiting, it is foreseeing. It is looking at the thorn and seeing rose. ये अब आप ध्यान में रखें. इसमें जो important line है वो ये है. It is patience is not sitting and waiting, it is foreseeing. It is looking at the thorn and seeing rose, looking at the night and seeing the day. Lovers are patient and know what the moon needs time to become full. So love is also patience. If love is fire, then love is also patience. And they are not contradictory attributes, they are contraries. They can exist at the same time. Contradictories are which are totally all exclusive. If one is there, the other is not possible. But these two states, these two modes of behavior or modes of feeling can exist together. They are different, but they can exist together. It is pointless trying to know where the way leads. Think only about your first step, the rest will come. Always think and plan, and then our plans fail. Our thinking leads us nowhere, but still this is the way we do. But the Sufi way is to do something and then to wait for God to do the rest. The past is an interpretation, the future is an illusion. The world does not more through time, कुछ missing है इसमें, as if it were a straight line. Move होना चाहिए, more लिखा हुआ है. Move through time as if it were a straight line proceeding from the past to future. Instead time moves through within us in endless spirals. Eternity does not mean infinite time. ये मैं फिर डिस्कस करूँगी जब हम मौलाना रूम और इकबाल का तस्वुर ज़मान या कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ टाइम जो है डिस्कस करेंगे. ये वहाँ पे ज़्यादा रेलिवेंट होगा. बहरहाल दिस इज टू गिव यू a taste of Shams Tabrizi's quotes. And now if we have time, we can proceed to Sama, if I have. Kanaka Sama, it's very beautiful. It's very graceful and dignified. And I think that if there is a mystic dance, it is the dance of the whirling dervishes. दूसरे order credited to Rumi, and वो story मैंने आपको बता दी है पहले कि वो when he listened to the gold beater, he perceived that the beat of the gold beaters is saying La ilaha illallah, and this is a dancing rhythm, and he started dancing. This is the origin of Sama in Turkey, and then आपको ये पता ही है कि वो क्या करते हैं. They spin round and round in circles. ये तो आपको पता ही है, शायद आपने तस्वीरें देखी हों. आजकल बहुत चर्चा भी है इनका, तो अक्सर इनकी तस्वीरें टीवी पे भी आती हैं. तो अभी आपको दिखाएंगे भी, लेकिन आखिर में दिखाएंगे. Practitioners are young men who are initiated into the Maulviya mystic order of Sufism. The symbolism of this dance has a mystical meaning. It is symbolic. ये आपको एक पुराना जो है वो ये दिखा रहे हैं, लेकिन ये अभी न दिखा, अभी क्या जाए, बाद में इसको डिस्कस करेंगे. अच्छा जी. Now this dance of the whirling dervishes represents man's spiritual ascent through love to perfection, from earth to heaven. ये इसका है. The follower grant go out and returns as a mature man, and when he comes back, this whirling dervish, when he comes back from the heaven, the symbolism is that he is more mature. अच्छा जी, इसका जो है कि ये Sama emphasizes singing but includes the playing in instruments should not be profane, and only bells and flutes are used in this music of whirling dervishes.